Bell, you're Mr. Bell, that seems. Welf and Lily cried out in distress, "Oh no, Master Bell, it's Sir Bell, could your left arm really be?" Haruheim and Mikoto also looked away from the sight. Standing before his assembled comrades, Bell solemnly prepared to speak. It kind of just happened. Bell's arm was immobilized. More specifically, his armor-covered left arm was secured in a sling. It was unmistakably set in a medical cast. His hollow laugh sounded under a clear blue sky. Lily and I were talking about how this seemed kind of long for a follow-through commitment. Was Deai Saint in a bad mood then? Yes, very much. I didn't know a mid could get so angry. They were on a street in the northwest of the city known as Adventurer's Way. Bell had just emerged into the wide avenue of the white stone building that was the Jien Sect Familia's infirmary and was greeted by members of the Hestia Familia and even the Takamikazuchi Familia and the Mayak Familia. "I heard you had a high-spec support item equipped, but this seems..." "I did, but, turns out I really shouldn't move much, so..." Bell rubbed the back of his head sheepishly with his empty right hand in response to the exasperated look he received from Uka. It had been 2 weeks since the conclusion of the joint expedition, which included the encounter with the enormous moss, the atrocities of Jura Harma, and the desperate march through the deep levels. Bell severely injured his left arm in his fight against the Juggernaut, and although he equipped a brace as a protective measure, he ended up overstraining the arm anyway. This inevitably earned him a full reprimand from Amid during his follow-up appointment earlier that day. The terrible scolding he received from Deai Saint, a girl often compared to an exquisite porcelain doll and famous for her calm demeanor and controlled as much as by his skill, it was harsh enough to singe Bell's white hair. "So now you're in a cast to stop him from twisting it any more," Lily sighed. The mold was not made of bandages and plaster, but of adamantite. Despite the light weight of the refined metal, it hammered home the healer's intention, which was, "Thou shalt not move." When Bell arrived for his checkup, Amid's fury was evident. She said if I didn't listen to her, the next time she saw me, she would tie me to the bed. "Sickbay," Bell said, shuddering as he remembered what he had suffered a few minutes earlier. Amid lived up to her reputation as a kind, professional healer who never, ever turned her back on a patient, but to Bell, that assurance was now as terrifying as any dragon's fiery breath. He learned the lesson that there was nothing as scary as the anger of a beautiful woman, especially one who was normally kind. Jien Sect Familia is a bunch of charlatans, Bell, it's not too late yet. Leave it to me, some ultra-special remedies and a personalized therapeutic diet will get you back in action in no time. The sleepy-eyed Kyanthrope Natsa patted Bell on the shoulder enthusiastically. "This medicine and food seem extremely expensive, so let's pass." Mayak Familia and Jien Sect Familia were business rivals, and Naza and her comrades in Mayak Familia were friends of Hestia Familia. This time, however, they had referred their regular to Amid. Or perhaps it would be more accurate to say that they had entrusted him to her, believing that her renowned abilities could cure him, just like when Jien Sect Familia provided Natsa with a prosthetic arm after she lost her own limb in the past. While her patron god Mayak was relatively approachable, Natsa seemed determined to deny that Bell was in good hands, although her grumblings were ultimately in jest. "What a shame. If you came all this way, I thought maybe Cassandra could have that talk she's been wanting to have with you and finally get rid of some, shall we say, frustrations." Natsa added a mischievous laugh and a mischievous smile at the end. "Wadash!" Cassandra screamed hysterically, her face turning red as a berry. "Has Cassandra been frustrated lately? Does she need someone to listen to her or something?" asked Bell, confused, at which point Cassandra immediately lost all semblance of composure. "And no. I was just anxious to know if I should go see him. But ever since you got hurt, I was worried that maybe I was just abusing you. So, that's why, anyway, it's nothing to worry about." right? Isn't that right, Daphne? Don't drag me into this. Cassandra's words only became increasingly incoherent as she received a withering glare from Daphne beside her. Oh, but I promised we would have a nice long talk once the expedition was over, didn't I? Let's do that next time we visit the store, Belle said. Ah, you remembered, wah. Daphne. Why are you clinging to me? Daphne finally raised her voice to her friend, who fell to pieces the moment she saw Belle's friendly smile and was trying to hide behind her. As Belle watched the scene unfold with somewhat bewildered bewilderment, Welf spoke. That reminds me, Belle, what about that elf girl from the tavern? Are you waiting for her to appear? Liu. Mia's house is so busy I don't think she would have time to come, Belle said. Furthermore, it seems that she is reluctant to meet up lately. Almost like. If she was avoiding me, he added vaguely. In front of the Jian sect Familia ward, representatives of all the families that had participated in the alliance gathered. As they had all endured the grueling expedition together, they gathered to greet Belle, whose injuries were the most severe. The only one absent, besides Aisha, who grumbled at being summoned by her patron deity, was Liu. As Belle worriedly contemplated the possibility that he had somehow unknowingly offended Liu, after all, elves were a remarkably finicky race. Lily's expression changed as she put the pieces together. But she didn't say anything. There was nothing to say. She just grumbled. First Miss Cassandra and now Miss Liu. No, it can't be. You just can't. Haruheim tilted her head curiously. Cassandra, her face still burning with embarrassment, peered around the frustrated Daphne. So, Belle? With your arm in this condition, entering the dungeon will be, she asked shyly. Belle nodded with a smile. Yes. Now that the expedition is over. I think I'll take it easy for a while. He looked up at the endless blue sky. There wasn't a single cloud, as if nature had deigned to grant a moment of relief to a group of adventurers who overcame terrible difficulties. After all, my goddess once told me that resting is part of an adventurer's job. Belle, what did you do? Were the first words out of Hestia's mouth when she updated Belle's status. She had a stern expression as she looked at the boy's back, but her question came out in a perplexed monotone. As he was still in a cast, Belle was forced to sit in an uncomfortable posture and awkwardly shivered as he went through the status update. They were in an unoccupied room on the first floor of Hearthstone Manor, the Hestia family home. There was much to do since the expedition's safe return, and Hestia was only now managing an overdue status update. Or more accurately, she had been. As the status update required the follower to be shirtless, the two were alone in the room. Hestia stopped her work and placed her hands on her knees. Hestia was tempted to put on her usual cheerful smile and pretend to wipe her forehead, like she used to do after a status update. However, that would have been nothing more than refusing to face reality. Belle's total skill score was over 3,400. This was unmistakably a personal best for the boy. It may have even broken a public record. If some god's follower wanted to, say, saving a bunch of Excelia over time by foregoing regular status updates and then cashing in on a really big one, in that kind of scenario, it wasn't impossible to achieve similar numbers, so it's probably already been done. Done at some point. But there was no point in making that comparison because with such a dramatic number, saying, look how much my follower grew in a single adventure, didn't even count as a brag. Why? Because the amount was proof that the adventurer in question had survived a series of utterly brutal encounters, and if any of them had gone bad, he wouldn't even be around anymore. Said Belle, accepting the status update role with a tremendously awkward expression. I almost died like 8 times. I imagined that. Hestia had heard all about the expedition. The huge moss alone would be bad enough, but they faced other exceptional opponents like the Lambton and the Juggernaut, not to mention how they ended up being chased into the deep levels and almost dying in the process of wandering there. Just hearing about it made her almost faint. In fact, she had fainted. And now, as she looked at the numbers in Belle's status that corroborated that harrowing story, she couldn't help but shake her head. "Belle, could you tell everyone that I will update your status another day? I'm sorry, but I'm seriously tired today." Upon hearing Hestia speak in such a lifeless tone, Belle immediately seemed to apologize.